Okay, here we have a session with Tatiana and Reggie is one of our most sensitive, reactive guys. So I'm going to basically just try to follow along and narrate what I'm seeing here. So Tatiana's starting with a nice warm-up, checking in with him because he's the type of horse where some days he might not even be comfortable hand feeding, although those days are becoming more and more rare, as we like to see with our wild guys. So we start out with this calm default position, him standing still, making sure that we're maintaining a nice space bubble. And a lot of times with these wild guys, we don't even think about the space bubble because we want them to be snugly with us. We want them to feel safe close to us. But then quickly they kind of flip a switch and they are in our lap, and we don't like that either. So we want to make sure that that boundary is created from the beginning and really strongly reinforced. So that's a really great way that Tatiana's doing that, and it looks like she's incorporating some cheek targets where she's holding up her hand and having Reggie touch Tatiana's hand with his cheek like that. So that is something that we trained him at the very beginning to get him comfortable touching us. And so he, by doing that, it's a good warm up with something that he already knows the answer to. It's fun, it's easy, it's pretty safe. And you can see he's a little bit hypervigilant around the surroundings, the flies. There's a couple of things trigger stacking. And he's also kind of being a little overly enthusiastic on the cheek target. And I think she's trying to go for neck now without him kind of bonking into her hand. Yeah, so see what she did there? She repositioned him and reminded him, your nose stays forward unless I cue the cheek target. Perfect. And that little bit of clarity is all he needed to know. Okay, we're doing neck touches now. I don't have to swing my head around and find her hand. So it looks like we're getting some shoulder scratches, neck touches. Oh, perfect. And oh, wow, right for the full leg touch. I was expecting her to break that down a little bit more. So she may have worked on this in a previous session that I missed on the cameras. But that is step one, is you're not going to work on lifting their hooves if they're not genuinely comfortable with you completely touching the whole leg. And you want to be able to stand by their shoulder, ideally, too. We want to really unstack every sort of trigger that we can think of around hoof care, because especially hoof care is such a vulnerable position for them to be in, where they can't really flee if you've got one of their hooves. And here, Reggie's being a little curious. We love this for the wild ones. But we're going to wait until he's kind of in his default position and we cue a behavior. Very nice. Going back to some easy stuff. I'm assuming that the camera didn't catch a spook. Oh, look at that. Full body touches. What a good boy. And that's another thing Tatiana's doing a really great job with here, is like a lot of people, you get tunnel vision on the hooves and you're like, I want to pick up the front hooves, and you don't work on touching the whole body. And then, you leave yourself in a vulnerable position because if anyone's heard the Soji story of when I was trying to pick up her legs and I sneezed, I moved just a little past that comfort zone that I hadn't practiced before, and she had a big spook, and it was a big setback for her. So really making sure that Reggie is genuinely comfortable with people walking all around him. And really the best indicators we can see that he's pretty comfortable right now is the fact that he's mostly continuing chewing. Of course, the moment I said that, he stopped, but it looked like there was something in the environment he was checking out. I don't think he was uncomfortable because of what Tatiana was doing. So head neutral and continued chewing is what we want to see. So he did pause his chewing there, but that's the beginning stage. So if you're like, oh my gosh, he stops chewing every time, just know that that's what we're counter conditioning. We're getting to a point where he can be more comfortable. And there he paused for a little bit with the chewing. And hopefully he'll show us a really nice progression of less and less pause in the chewing, and then genuinely just being okay with the whole behavior. And I love that Tatiana stops to just do a calm default break. Like, we're just going to hang out here. We don't always have to be doing things. Because so many times these Mustangs, we've got all these agendas, and they get used to constantly being cued for behaviors. And so their seeking system gets overactivated. And then they don't realize that they can just stand there and relax and have food appear, clicks and treats happen. So that's really good to just pepper in that nice calm default. I'm rewarding you for basically nothing, so that they know that their brain doesn't have to fully stay on all the time. Oh, that was beautiful. I think he chewed through most of that. All right, so this is a really common thing that people struggle with is I try to pick up the hoof and the horse backs up. It can start that way. And so Tatiana, I'm sure, will show us beautifully how to work through yes, it's pick up your foot, but no, it's not back up. And I apologize, our camera records in 30-second increments, so sometimes we miss half a loop, and I think we missed one there. That's all right, though. We'll see what happens next. There. So he was still kind of backing up, but she clicked at the weight shift, and the foot came up. And so we isolated, it's just the one foot. So he's like, okay, I back up just one foot. And you're thinking, no, it's not back up. But you're converging on the correct answer, which is I just pick up this one foot. There we go. And it looks like incorporating some just plain old leg touches, reminding him that this is okay too. And then asking for the hoof lift. Incorporating some easy stuff. We want to keep his brain engaged. We don't want it to keep being hard, hard, hard. Yep, so nice leg touch there. Okay, this is what she was saying. She was doing a fetlock target. So she's trying to teach him, hey, can you lift your leg to meet my hand? Because he was really struggling with some of the other ways of doing it because he has had some traditional training in the past. He's been through several trainers. So kind of retraining things in a way that doesn't feel like the dramatic version of the behavior. There we go. That was nice. Isolating that one hoof. And again, it looks like a step back. So if you're just starting out and you're like, I just can't get it right, it never looks right from the get-go. It looks sloppy. You get a little component here, a little component there. And then you just you work with what they give you, and you bounce back and forth between behaviors of stillness and then lifting the leg until it really clicks for them of, oh, I'm picking up the leg instead of stepping back with it. Yeah, and she's still clicking and feeding that even though there's a backup in there. And there she's resetting his position by using her hand as a target, basically. All right, so what she's trying to do here, I believe she realized that the fetlock target looked too much like a traditional hoof pickup, and now she's trying to do a knee target. And so let's see how this goes. Mixing in some plain leg touches. Reggie's concerned about his herd mates in the distance. See those nostrils flaring. He stopped chewing. Tatiana's just giving him a moment to come back down to earth. Several moments to come back down to earth. There he is. Giving him some easy tasks to get his brain back. Doing some more leg touches. Very nice. Really good leg touches there. He's getting more and more comfortable with it. He still has a little bit of concern. Yeah, see how he stopped chewing just a moment there. That's okay. That's part of the process. It's hopefully going to get more and more comfortable each time. Okay, we're doing some duration on leg touch. That's interesting. I wasn't sure if the camera froze, but the timer kept going, so it looks like he was just extremely still, perhaps a little concerned or mentally trying to figure out the answer. Poor itchy boy. Unfortunately, this camera didn't have the audio on. I'm curious if Tatiana's trying to do a countdown and get some duration, or if she's trying to see if he will lift his hoof while she's touching it. It could be either. I'm going to have to check in and see. Oh, there we go. Okay, that looks like what she was trying to do is touch the front of the leg to cue the pickup. And he got it. It's really great. I like this because you're seeing kind of how experimental the process is, especially with a horse that has had several trainers in the past and has some emotional baggage, because sometimes it's not as straightforward as a standard formula for teaching hoof lifts. And sometimes you have to say, okay, I'm going to try the normal way, I'm going to try a weird way, I'm going to mix in more leg touches, and going to basically try to make it feel different than what previous trainers have done, to see if we can get some momentum around that behavior and increase the comfort a little bit faster. There we go. See how she's hovering the hand above the front of the fetlock there? She was trying to get Reggie to lift his leg to meet her hand. So this is your traditional body target approach that she's doing, and that's why she was holding her hand on the front of his fetlock, really the front of his pastern, to get him to realize that the goal behavior is touching that part of his leg, and he didn't get it. She's resetting the position, waiting, and then giving him an easy thing so he doesn't get frustrated, and then gonna try again. Textbook, nailed it. That was perfect. That's exactly what Tatiana was trying to do. Lift that hand about an inch off and get him to close the gap with his body and target her hand. So that was perfect. And it can be hard to know like how much to push to get them to get the right answer. And you have to know your horse. Some horses are problem solvers and they'll figure out the shortcut faster. And the shortcut being lifting the leg to meet the hand. Whereas there are other horses that will stand there all day and be like, well, are you going to touch my fetlock? And so you have to know how to get the horse to problem solve. And if you're working with a thinker, that was so good. Or if you need to give them more answers, or if you need to pepper in nice, easy hand targets like that, just to keep them engaged in the game and keep their brain online if they do miss it once or twice. And if they do miss it repeatedly, how can you make it the answer more clear to them? Very good. That was so perfect. And another thing too, sometimes it's just happenstance. Like Tatiana might have been hovering over as he stomped a bug and he hit her hand with the leg. Like that counts. And that can help them get the answer faster. Okay, so that was, now he's back into, I back up instead of lifting. So this is a great example of it's not always a linear process. You get kind of the garbage behavior creeps back in sometimes, and that's all right. It's all part of the process. But it's important to not click those. And then like Tatiana's doing here, giving him some easy wins so that he doesn't disengage. And now saying, hey, let's try this again. I think you got this. Yes. And he did. So having the resilience to stick it through, to encourage him with some easy options. So this is the conflict-free behavior of just touch my hand. And then try again on the hard thing. How much patience do you have? And at what point do you try a different approach? So like she had started out trying to target the back of the leg, and that was too hard for him because it was too similar to how normal people pick up a hoof. And this is very different than that. It doesn't feel the same, so he doesn't have quite the emotional baggage around it that he might otherwise have.